right, we are ready to start with the Building and Environmental Safety CSA. We are going to try to make up for a little bit of lost time so that you will get a lunch break following this. So I'm going to turn it over to Management Budget.
Thank you, City Manager. Before I hand over the mic, the Building and Environmental Safety CSA will be presented jointly by Andrea and Maria. I want to take a quick second to really give a shout out to Andrea. She's been with us for a little over 2 years, and she has been the primary person in our office who's been helping with managing the DRP, all of the projects in the DRP. As you know, there are over 50 projects, and so she's been doing an amazing job. And as we wind down the work in the DRP, she has taken over some additional responsibility in management budget, and she's here presenting the information today.
Building environmental safety CSA, we have two community priorities, which is to promote healthy and safe community and provide responsive emergency service. Now we will present highlights the accomplishments of the CSA.
Dayton's strength comes from the safety and well-being of its residents. Through the Building and Environmental Safety Community Service Area, we work every day to protect lives, homes, and neighborhoods, while creating a healthier, more resilient community. Our priorities are clear: providing responsive emergency services and promoting a healthy and safe community. And this year, we reached an extraordinary milestone in our commitment to excellence. When emergencies happen, every second matters. This year, the Dayton Fire Department achieved accredited agency status, an honor earned by fewer than 1% of fire departments nationwide. This recognition reflects our commitment to excellence, preparedness, and world-class service. This accreditation isn't just a title, it's a promise. It means our firefighters are better trained, better equipped, and better prepared than ever to protect Dayton's residents, businesses, and neighborhoods. It's proof that Dayton is investing in excellence and that your safety is always our top priority. Our commitment to safety goes beyond emergency response. It extends to one of our most vital resources: clean, reliable drinking water. This year, the Dayton Water Department launched an ambitious service line compliance program to meet strict new federal requirements. Using predictive modeling, field inspections, and customer engagement, we've built a publicly accessible inventory of service line materials and empowered residents through our Know Your Pipes initiative. These efforts put Dayton ahead of schedule for the October 2024 EPA compliance deadline and set us on track to replace all lead service lines by 2037. Additionally, in 2025, the Dayton Water Department received 3 prestigious awards: the Ohio Stormwater Association 2025 Program Excellence Award, recognizing our high school water career conference, which inspires the next generation of water professionals; the National Groundwater Association 2025 Outstanding Groundwater Protection Project Award, honoring our leadership in protecting Dayton's groundwater resources; the NACWA 2024 Peak Performance Silver Award, awarded to our water reclamation facility for excellence in compliance and operations. These honors reflect our innovation, sustainability, and commitment to protecting public health, not just for today, but for generations to come. Safety isn't just about responding when emergencies happen. It's about prevention. From housing inspections and code enforcement to environmental safety programs and community education, we're investing in initiatives that make Dayton's neighborhoods safer, healthier, and more vibrant. This year, we launched the Civil Housing Enforcement Program to hold property owners accountable while helping elderly and low-income residents maintain their homes. We also updated the city's zoning code, addressing the overconcentration of group homes to protect neighborhood stability. And by closing several problem bars and establishments, we reduced strain on police resources and improved quality of life across our city. This year, we made historic progress in sustainability, investing in projects that will save energy, reduce costs, and protect our environment. One of our most exciting initiatives is Dayton's first solar array, a 25-acre, 5-megawatt project at the Miami Water Treatment Facility and West Pod. Built on a former brownfield site, this project will pay for itself within 5 years and is expected to save taxpayers nearly $4 million over the next 30 years. To support our fleet's transition to clean energy, we've secured funding to install over 25 electric vehicle chargers at key city facilities. And through a grant from the Ohio Attorney General's office, we're tackling illegal dumping at 3800 Germantown Street by removing hazardous debris, installing cameras, and building barriers to protect nearby residents and preserve community spaces. Dayton is also working to make housing safer, healthier, and more energy efficient. Through our partnership with the Dayton Energy Collaborative, we secured $1.7 million to support the Dayton Home Repair Network. This funding doubles staffing capacity, allows us to assist 250 additional households with critical home repairs, weatherization, insulation, and HVAC installations. By working with partners like Habitat for Humanity, County Corp, Miami Valley Community Action Partnership, and Rebuilding Together Dayton, we're uniting resources to improve living conditions and reduce energy costs for Dayton families. Through our housing inspections and demolition services, we're addressing unsafe structures and preparing Dayton's neighborhoods for the future. Since 2023, we've removed more than 550 blighted properties, helping to improve safety and open opportunities for redevelopment. This work is supported by funding from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, and the Ohio Department of Development. In 2025, Dayton is transforming waste collection with the power of Routeware Smart City technology. By using advanced route optimization, we're designing smarter, more efficient collection routes, saving time, reducing costs, and lowering emissions. By embracing innovation, Dayton is improving operational efficiency and enhancing quality of life for residents, ensuring cleaner streets and greener neighborhoods. Through the Building and Environmental Safety Community Service Area, Dayton is setting a higher standard for safety, sustainability, and community well-being. From an accredited fire department to award-winning water programs, historic solar investments, and revitalized housing, we're building a stronger, healthier Dayton for everyone.
Here we see the expenditure trend by the priority. So for each priority, there was an increase in the budget. For the first one, promote healthy and safe communities of 4.1 increase. And the second one, provide responsive emergency services, a 5.8 increase. In total, the budget for this year is 157,021,000, which is 4.8% higher than in 2025. This increase is primarily due to the annual wage adjustments, but notable increases were also observed in contracts and material, particularly in sludge and waste disposal, utilities, and other equipment maintenance, among others. There was also an increase in transfers to support well-filled capital projects. The total number of positions decreased slightly by 2 FTEs. This is a combination of adding and removing FTEs. And then the next slide is the five-year spending trend. This is a side-by-side comparison of the 2026 recommended budget, 2021 to 2024 actuals, and 2025 projection. As mentioned earlier, the proposed budget reflects inflationary increases, higher staffing costs, and increases in contracts and materials. Now we will move on to the specific programs. The first program under the priority to promote healthy and safe community is building services. And the proposed budget for personnel under this program is $2,623,000, which increased by 15.7 or 356,800 from 2025. In addition to the annual wage increase, 3 new FTEs were added to support activities under this program. The CNM, on the other hand, declined. The proposed budget is $351,000, which is 14.1% lower than in 2025, mainly due to decline in other professional services. And I will now turn you over to the END Director, Steve Ronald, to discuss this.
Mayor, Commissioners, Steve Gonald, Director for P&D. Our strategic objective here is to ensure that construction, improve and repair of residential commercial structures within Dayton complies with building codes to improve the safety and health of residents. Building Services is one of the 7 divisions in the Department of Planning, Neighborhoods and Development. As Maria noted that, so just kind of the acknowledgement of the opportunity to add 3 full-time employees to help serve that division. We estimate that we'll be able to lower our contractual services outside of the organization by having that staff in place in the division. Our measures of progress. So we're looking at the first one, the number of building permits issued and the percent change in building permits issued year over year. So this is something we start tracking. You'll see that we have a goal about 7,000. That's kind of based off of historical processing, looking at staff time, their ability per permit to kind of process. So we know that that 7,000 number is kind of our target area. We have exceeded that though through the end of Q3 of 2025. We are a little over 7,000. That's about almost 7% increase from this time last year. When we look at the revenue generated from these permits, you'll see that year end, we ended just shy of $4 million. And through the Q3 of 2025, we're at about $3.3 million. So we're on pace just through the revenue for the permits to kind of probably meet or slightly exceed last year's revenue. And then the value. So with these permits on projects, the applicants will provide a project valuation. And so we're been tracking that last year. The valuation of those permits that we reviewed were about $532 million. We are looking at through Q3 of 2025, almost $329 million. So again, these are just metrics we're sharing. We don't necessarily have a control because we are responding to projects as they come into us, but it's kind of good to see kind of a pacing of the quantity and the qualitative, the value of those projects. Our future goals, so we continue to look at improving Acela. So a little over a year ago, we went to the cloud, and like any kind of technology, there's continuous improvements and opportunities within that service to provide our staff with their day-to-day work. And so we work with our colleagues in IT and through partnerships outside of the organization to make sure that that both serves our staff, but also is a value to the community. You'll see that the second one is the customer interface. So again, continually to try to make those improvements for the functionality for submitting plans, paying plans, and tracking. So this is as the opportunities that we have with being on the cloud improve annually. We are making sure that we're engaging that into our work plan. Continuing with building services, additional measures of progress. So we also started looking at the number of days to process building permits from acceptance to issuance for commercial and residential permits. So obviously, I know many of our applicants would love it to be an instantaneous turnaround, but looking at the pipeline work, we do kind of make sure that we feel a service level on par with regional, other, Montgomery County and other jurisdictions in the region, and just kind of industry practices. And so you'll see that we're looking at a target of 45 business days for commercial and 14 business days for residential. Through the end of Q3, we're at 42 for commercial and 12 in residential. So progress for 26 kind of remain in that general area. Number of inspections completed. This is everything from structural, electrical, plumbing, by our varied inspectors in the building services division. Year end of 24, we had a little over 9,200. And you'll see there that through Q3, we've almost met all of 2024 already. The whole quarter remaining, we're at a little over 9,200 through Q3 of 2025. And so you'll see our target is around 8,000. So partly, again, based off staffing, We do utilize some external contractual work to help us keep up and sometimes exceed certain things based on needs. So that kind of explains how do you exceed a target with the staff you have. We sometimes use external contracts to help us keep up with the need. And then lastly, percent of inspections completed within 24 hours. So these inspections are kind of unique is that when the applicants are ready, they call in to schedule it. So they, will typically say, hey, I think we're ready for tomorrow. We try to meet them because we know that once the inspection is completed, they will move on to the next step. And so we have a goal of almost nearly 100%, but within 95% of the time, we're able to have an inspector out there within 24 hours on that project so that they can check off and then move on. So that's what I'm really proud of the team maintaining. And typically that 5% is really just more of the call comes in late, like 4:30. And so we may push it, like if it's a Monday, 4:30, we might make it to like a Wednesday because we've already booked up Tuesday. So that's kind of the reasoning for that. And a future goal, kind of funny, is maintaining staffing redundancy. So with the opportunity to add some additional positions in this service area, our whole goal is that to have a staffing plan where whether someone takes leave or vacation or for medical need, that we are never kind of saying, oh, well, we'll get you that in about a week when they get back to Florida. We want to make sure that we have the appropriate redundancy in staffing so that the work continues on even with planned and unplanned absences. That's really important for the development community. And again, on those positions, it's always a reminder, these are unique for the city, that these positions require them to be certified by the State Board of Building Standards. That is something that, well, we have a great civil service department. A lot of these positions, you need to maintain that certification granted by the state. We are not able to just say, well, I like you, so I'll bring you in. You have to have those credentials. So it makes it a little bit harder to find individuals for that, but that is something that we work closely with when we're hiring and retaining people, knowing the value that it is very limited pool of candidates in this region and in the state. So.
The next program under the city CSA is housing and inspections. The proposed personal budget for this program is $3,194,100, which is 2.9% lower compared to 2025. There is no change in the number of FTEs under this program. However, there were some employees who opted to waive health insurance. And then of the $1,347,800 shown on the CNM side, $347,800 are for contracts and materials, and the $1 million is for the annual transfer from the general fund for demolition activities. Including the transfer, the proposed budget was up 4.9% in 2026. Excluding the transfer, CNM increased by 22.1% or $62,900 due to significant increase in the proposed budget for fleet charges and fuel and internal reproduction and postage.
Again, so our strategic objective here is to improve neighborhood livability and monitor and demolish dangerous buildings to maintain safe neighborhoods. I feel that we are all familiar with each other on this topic as I see you every month, but so just a note here, so our measures of progress, a couple of things, when you look at number of buildings demolished, one thing I think I'll get with our friends at MMB, I do think that 24 year end might be just slightly off by 3. I think it might be 208, but we're in the ballpark. So, and then also note that you're probably looking at 2025 Q3 results, and assuming it doesn't jive with what I showed you, you kind of get a sneak peek here because while we're reflecting the September demos in here, I have not yet presented those to you. I'll be presenting those later this month. So that's why that number is going to be a little bit higher. So when you're looking at the demolition work, you can see that we're quite ahead of pace from Q3 this year from last year. What we are looking at, though, is in 26 annual target. This is a reflection of the tapering down of the final year of the data recovery plan and some of the other funding sources. So realistically, these are demolitions that we have remaining funded through ARPA, maybe some ODOD and CDBG. So that is where we believe. Now, as you know, opportunities come up and sometimes we're granted additional funds from the state. That might change, but we really look at that number to get a clear picture. All right, what do we have funded for this number? So we're at 200 for 26. Percent of housing complaints responded to within 6 days of the initial complaint. You'll see that in year end of 24, we were at about 88.1% of those were within 6 days. Our 2025 quarter three, we're doing slightly better than we were at last time. We're at about 93%. And just a reminder, that is typically the complaint goes in through Dayton Delivers. At midnight, it handshakes to our system. And then from that point, the inspector and the supervisor, if it's not already assigned to that inspector, will assign that, and they have a 6 days to get out there and take action to go visit the site, reach the homeowner or tenant, et cetera. So we do take an account for existing work plans that they might be following up on. So we put 6 days as a reasonable time to act on that. But oftentimes they are getting out there sooner than that. Our future goals obviously are to create space for new development in the city by demolishing blighted nuisance properties. We will be completing and analyzing the 25-26 citywide housing condition survey. In collaboration with Public Works, we do want to address, again, the work that we're doing with Richard Bailey and GIS for more the improved field-based reporting versus the paper and manual input. And obviously addressing properties with a 3 rating and achieve abatement of documented issues. And lastly, our future goals is to refine the civil prosecution process, which we have started here in late 2025, which is under the Chapter 61 of the Code of Civil Procedures, and to continue collecting data on this process versus criminal. So as we underway, we'll probably do a lot of research on those paths of the criminal versus civil and how that's working out for us. Just some things to look at. One of the things that I mentioned that, working with Richard Bailey with GIS for the condition survey, and then what we are seeing, again, initially a lot of favorable outcomes of the civil prosecution through both cooperation, abatement, fine collection, et cetera, in terms of kind of balanced out. And actually the process allows our staff to intervene more quickly versus the criminal. So more to come on that, but I'm very pleased with the initial few months of the civil process. Continuing with housing inspections. So our measures of progress here, emergency demos, 2024 year end. And again, this is another fact that we talk about every month. In 24, we had 46. Through cooperation with our colleagues in fire and public works, trying to identify areas where we can kind of close these opportunities for arson or other issues. We had a aspirational goal of 30, and you'll see that through 2025, we're at 13. And so I want to thank our friends in fire, the GROW team, all these various pieces and parts to try to figure out how to better, ensure that people where they need to belong through our work with our human service manager, Aaron Ritter, and MBHO. But really pleased with that number. And one of the things I want to note is that we did kind of swap out. We originally had reported on boarded structures, but we felt that this was kind of a better measure of progress based off of when we board properties, when we work with fire, when we work with police, public works. The goal is to kind of get to this, to have fewer of these emergency demolitions. And then also on here, number of zoning certificates issued annually. A lot of times people are like, why every year? It's like, why do we have this on here? But you'll see that we are almost at where we were year end 2024, where we had 1,300. We're at a little over 1,000. One of the items that we look at with zoning is that this also is kind of a quality of life factor. So when residents and applicants come to the city for zoning certificates, they are either looking to properly build a fence, install a patio, get a certification to make sure that what they want to do there is allowed. And I look at that as a partnership with the public to abide by our code so that the quality of life is good for everyone, not just the applicant, the neighbors. And so seeing kind of a steady pace of engagement with our zoning work, I think is a positive outcome for everybody. One of our future goals, we're going to continue our partnership with Montgomery County Land Bank and the Dayton Home Repair Network for the stabilization, renovation of opportunities. And again, like building, continued improvement and enhancements to Acela cloud service for the mobile app to support field-based work by the inspectors.
The next program, still under the same priority, is Your Dollars, Your Neighborhood. The proposed budget for this is $650,000, which is the same as last year's. This is for housing improvements, and there are no FTEs associated with this.
Yes. So this is a new one for us. So we're looking to improve housing conditions to increase the availability of quality housing for Dayton residents. So what we're looking for out of this program outcomes is to the number of homeowners assisted with repairs, a reduction of 3, 4, and 5, so really 3 properties in these target areas, and stabilizing or increasing median home values where we're operating this program, and also tracking the dollar value of private funding leveraged by the homeowners that participate in the program. Our future goals will be to assist homeowners with structural repairs, needed structural repairs, be inclusive to all household incomes, drive investment momentum from external funding sources to improve the condition ratings in these communities. And so again, we'll be relying heavily on our housing condition survey, looking to see, those that were rated a 3 or even a 4 if we move the needle on those in those areas. So.
Continuing on with the allocating the community development, the next program area, which is for sustainability, the FTE remains the same, between 5 and 2. The budget for personnel did increase by 10.1%, primarily due to change in insurance elections between 2025 and 2026. Offset by the 21.6% decrease in legal costs and materials, with no significantly in reproduction budget. And so the sustainability manager, Megan Maloney, is unfortunately not able to attend, but we do have a recording of the measures of progress and the goal that we will.
All right.
Look that real quick. All right, come down here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Meg Maloney. I'm the Sustainability Manager with the City of Dayton. My apologies that I cannot be joining you all today. I'm excited to talk about budget metrics for the Sustainability Office. The purpose of the Sustainability Office is to maximize sustainability programs throughout all of our departments and in the community. We adopted a sustainability plan in 2020 with 115 projects that we've been working to implement, and also declared climate emergency in 2021, which tries to work. One of the most exciting updates this year, before I jump into our metrics, is that the Sustainability Office is officially a team of 6. So I'm excited that I have 3 coworkers that joined me since I last presented to you all last year in the budget. So we have an innovation team made up of Leela, Miani, and Hoda, who have been working with us in partnership of implementing sustainability programs. So our first metric that we measured is the amount of grant dollars obtained in sustainability projects. While there was not as many opportunities this year as there were last year during the Biden administration, Tim Pritchard in our office was still able to obtain a grant to reduce illegal dumping on a site on Germantown. So he worked with community engagement, public works, and also housing to identify that site, and they're working to clean it up, which is very exciting. We will also continue to implement the grants that we won last year. So our innovation team has been working to partner with the Dayton Home Repair Network to do low-income family weatherization and energy efficiency work for households. And they've been working on that grant, and hopefully we'll have money next year to also do that as well. In addition, we've also been installing electric vehicle chargers, which I will talk about on the next slide. Our electric aggregation program continues to divert over 2 million metric tons a year. So while this year this is an annual metric, but we are looking to again divert over 2 million metric tons through the purchase of renewable energy in our electric aggregation program. In addition, Matthew Worsham in our office works to do energy efficiency and energy procurement to help reduce energy bills and also cost avoid on our energy bills. This year to date, he has saved over $55,000 for the city of Dayton, but we are on track to also save around $3 to $5 million through our energy procurement program We have had some slight delays in AES getting us billing, so we have not been able to do as many bill audits as we would like, but when those bills start flowing in, we'll continue to do billing audits to identify errors. Our future goals is to continue working to identify grant funding to complete the program. For next year, is that we can continue to identify funding and work to get that funding to departments. We will also continue to divert carbon emissions through our electric aggregation program. And we will have some solar coming online next year at our Miami water treatment, which is exciting because it will continue to divert emissions while also saving us money. And lastly, we will continue to find ways to lower our energy bills. Our biggest focus going into next year is to save money on capacity costs. A lot of people see an increase in energy capacity. So reducing energy on high heat days is really important to save money this year, and we'll continue to do it next year. And we'll also see those savings when our solar comes online next year. Moving to slide 2. We have also installed electric vehicle chargers. We have installed 2 electric vehicle chargers, one at LaGuardia Recreation Center, the other at Greater Dayton Recreation Center, through our partnership with MVRPC. We still have a federal grant in partnership with SoCAC Sustainable Ohio Public Energy Council to install 25 electric vehicle chargers for public use, and we hope to start installing those next year. In addition, our electric vehicles continue to save us money. We see money saved through not only emissions, but also costs. So the equivalent greenhouse gas emissions savings in gallon of gas was our fleet of electric vehicles saved around 4,537 gallons of gas as of quarter 3. And we've also saved as of quarter 3, $11,000 compared to what we are paying for electric rather than gas. So $100,000 savings. Even though those tax credits are sunsetting, still will, even though the tax credits are sunsetting, we still believe that we will be saving money outside electric vehicle purchases and will continue to do so. In addition, our electric aggregation program, we got a new price this year. It has savings about $1.1 million for all of the rent and small businesses in the program in comparison to AES's standard service offer. So we're at 8.71 cents compared to AES's 9.5 cents. And that is with 100% electric renewable energy. So our future goals is to continue to install electric vehicle chargers, continue to divert metric tons through the procurement of electric vehicles instead of gas-powered vehicles, and to continue to deliver a rate below the that's competitive or below the AES standard service offer. We have a lot of exciting things happening in our sustainability program, and we're excited to put out a new plan next year in partnership with all of our commissioners, mayor, and city manager. And that is all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Okay, so moving on to this area in this project. It's been selection is the minister. So this year, EMPs decreased by 1 in 2026. So from 85 to 84, and it's due to extra public works helper position that was in the 2029 is due to the 2026. Accordingly, this resulted in a 0.8% decline, which was somewhat mitigated by the annual wage adjustments. And so material declined by 0.9%, and this is relating to a reduction in proposed budget and fuel charges. Richie.
Mayor, Commissioners, good afternoon. So our strategic objective is reduce the physical environment and health hazards of waste materials through efficient and equitable waste collection, recycling, and disposable services. We have 3 measures of progress. The first being percent of recycling diversion of total tip tonnage collected in the city of Dayton. At the end of 2024, our year-end result was 8.6. We set a goal in 25 or target of 12%. And at the end of the third quarter, we had inked up ever so slightly to 8.8. So we're still falling well short of what our 12% goal is. Number of cleanups per year. At the end of 24, we had 27. Our 25 target was 25 cleanups. And at the end of the third quarter, we've done 17. We've already done a few since the end of the third quarter. So we're very confident that we will meet or exceed our goal for 25. And the number of illegal dumping cases that resulted in a conviction. 2024 year-end results was 20. We had a goal in 25 of 15. After the end of the third quarter, we had 15, and we do have a couple that is in the pipeline right now. So that number will go up from 15 for what number. For future goals, we have continued to collaborate with the Office of Sustainability to increase recycling participation by educating residents and targeting low participation neighborhoods. Continue to partner with community engagement to increase awareness of neighborhood cleanup opportunities, and continue to work with the Office of Sustainability and the Montgomery County Illegal Dumping Task Force to decrease the number of illegal dumping cases.
Okay, so the next program area is the water supply and ingredients from Waxhaw. So for the there was no change in FTE. At one point. The personnel costs did increase 6.5%. That's due to the budget and wage increases. And contracts and materials were up by 3.6%. The increased cost of sludge disposal, cleaning fuel charges, and supplies. Also of note, the budget for capital equipment is 7.5% lower than 2025 due to fewer equipment. Over to Director King.
Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present Water's 2026 proposed budget. I'm going to start here with our strategic objective, which is to provide abundant, high-quality water at an affordable price while maintaining and protecting the integrity of our natural resources. So our first measure here is to make sure that we meet all of our standards 100% of the time. This is a consistent standard that we always meet. And this is very important. This means that we are maintaining the system. We are staying abreast of whatever is going on regulatory wise for us in this current environment. This is very important. You have emerging contaminants, you have current rules. So the fact that we maintain this 100% target all the time shows the dedication of the staff that we have that's here within the water department. And we will continue to do that. This includes having 24-hour operations. And I don't know if we've ever told you this, but we produce 23 billion gallons a year. And of that 23 billion gallons, we make always some of our future goals moving forward, again, is to continue to have these water quality standards that we're meeting 100% of the time. Perform these upgrades to our plants as identified in the master plan. Again, this is important to us so that if we're continuing to maintain these plants, that means we're staying abreast of what's going on and making sure that our equipment is always operating in a also to engage in a strategic effort to improve our workplace culture, leadership, efficiency through continuous learning, collaboration, and accountability. So when we talk about achieving this 100% compliance all the time, you have to have the staff that's there and they have to be trained. So when you look at who's in these plants that operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they all have certifications that they have to earn through Ohio EPA. And it's not just operator certifications, but it's also laboratory certifications that show that they are efficient and able to report this data at the highest quality. So again, that is very important for us to continue to move forward and be looked upon as a premier water system, and also to make sure that we're driving forward as the leader within the Miami Valley for water services. Also to undertake new initiatives in 2026 and beyond, including updating career paths, mandatory leadership training, regular union meetings, integrating core values into evaluations, and promoting employee wellness, all to build a strong service-focused team and ensure long-term excellence of the water system. Again, Dayton is competing with other water systems within our area, and that means we have to make sure that our water system is where people want to come work, and that this is how we continue to strive forward and to meet all of those goals. All right, so now we're going to go over to our water reclamation facility. Sorry, I'll get back to you.
Okay, so the next program area is water reclamation. One FTE from 25 to 76 in 2026 due to a new position for this program. So the personnel cost, of course, accordingly increased by 4% due to the additional position and also the annual. And contracts and materials also increased by 4%, and this is primarily due to sludge disposal, as mentioned, equipment and facility maintenance, and utilities, among a few other reasons. It was kind of budget as all. There's no big motion this preliminary and just due to different, varied in the annual replacement schedules.
Alright, so again, the strategic objective of our water reclamation facility is a commitment to clean environment now and for the future. Yeah, it's demonstrated by our dedication to providing customers with affordable and reliable wastewater treatment services that are protective of Miami Valley's natural resources. So again, our goal is always to have 100% compliance with these excellent water quality standards. So as you know, our water reclamation facility receives whatever waste that is produced. It's all treated on site and then it's released into our waterways. Again, it's very important that we have that 100% compliance because as we go through, our waterways are also a part of attractions for people to want to come to the Miami Valley to participate from fishing to where you have people out and they're on their communities. It's a very important process as we move forward. For 2024, we treated about 17 billion gallons of wastewater, and all that again with regulatory compliance of 100%. Similar to on the water side, again, you have trained professionals that are also again going out and they're getting these certifications, and you're having EPA come in and certify them as we move forward. So this again shows the commitment of our staff, but we're also competing on the wastewater side as well to get those qualified individuals to come in and want to be here within the city of Dayton. So the fact that we're continuing to have this 100% compliance shows the dedication and the training of our staff. As we move forward, we want to continue to maintain this compliance of those effluent standards 100% of the time. And then we also want to continue to identified in the master plan. One of the projects that we've talked about on the water reclamation side is our anaerobic digesters, which is $138 million. This, as we move forward, will help us start to have more efficient operations. And then also we will continue on with that legacy of proactive maintenance and also innovation to make sure that our wastewater treatment facility moves forward into the next 50 years.
And then the last one here, the water department, environmental development. For this area, the FTEs were really same as the again, due to the annual wage adjustment. But so including the $2.7 million transfer, which $210,000 of which equipment and then 2.5 less to support well-built capital projects, and the materials are up 11.4%. Excluding the transfer, contracts and materials declined. There's a decrease in professional services.
Right, so for our environmental strategic objective, this is to protect and preserve our regional's water resources. And again, for this, we're going out and we're using our source water protection program. As we've mentioned before, this is a nationally recognized source water protection program that we've had since probably about the late 80s, early 90s. And it's become a model of how most source water protection programs are actually put into place and modeled after. So what we have is we have a percentage of targeted visits within the source water protection program of about 25% of these businesses. As you can see, as you go through from 24 into third quarter of 25, we've continued to meet that requirement of 25%. So far in third quarter of 2025, we've already met that requirement of 28.8%. This gives us the opportunity with these visits to actually start to build a relationship with those businesses that are within the community and within our source water protection program. This also gives us the opportunity to kind of have more of an idea of what's out there and to help them before we actually have an actual. Because once it's in the aquifer, it's harder to get it out. So this is a good way for us to continue our resources. For us moving forward, that goal is to continue that site visit of the 25% with the goal of visiting at 1/4 of those 198 identified locations. And again, we will continue to do that as we've done in previous years as we continue to go.
Okay, so now we're taking the, this is now provide response to emergency services. Emergency services. They're going to eat, they don't take entities, 228. The personnel costs are on 8.2%, primarily driven by higher overtime, there was an increase in call out. And then company materials are 5.4%, which is primarily driven by increases in other cost allocation, professional services, temporary staffing, and the shifting and consolidation of video repair costs into one account. I'll hand it over to Director Turner.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners, Mayor. First, I want to talk a little bit about the personnel costs, the overtime. We intentionally plugged in additional overtime because we are serving one of our tenants, which is Sierra Nevada. Whenever they have additional flights that require our services above and beyond what we have, they actually reimburse us for those costs. So we are getting reimbursed for those overtime costs. So that's one of the reasons why the personnel cost is up. So anyway, strategic objective: provide aircraft rescue, firefighting, and policing services for the airport community. One of the measures, we have two measures of progress. The first one is percent of compliance with FAA inspections and findings. As you can see, we're at 100% as of and one of the things that what they're looking at when the FAA comes in, they want to make sure that we're ready to respond to any type of incident that would happen on the airfield. So first thing they do when they get off the airplane, they're going to test it. They go up to the tower, run a test time. And we make it to the longest runway in less than 3 minutes. The guys are able to do that. They look at all of our equipment. Are we maintaining them properly? Are they working within the specs? Can the vehicle dispense the foam and the water out within the specified measurements? So those are the things they're looking at to make sure that we are in compliance. So, and so far this year, we're doing very good. The next step is percent of compliance with TSA inspections. Again, 100%. With TSA, we have a security plan. TSA measures us on how we implement that to maintain that security plan. So we are just on, for example, our tenants. How do they make sure that there's no imperfection in our security plan where there's any breaches? So they look at those, they make sure that we respond in a timely manner to any type of security breaches. So we are in compliance with all the items that the TSA has specified for us. But some of the things that we do in the community, our leader, Chief Wilson there, he has a team of about, I believe there's about 19 officers. He's short about 2 right now. He has 3 supervisors and 4 administrators. So they do a lot, especially recently with the NATO event. They were deployed to a lot of collaboration with the Dayton Police Department, NATO, Air Show. So they also with the community. We have 2 K9 teams. So whenever there's a concert or a special event, K9 teams respond to help in the community. Collaborate a lot with a lot of local community. Also, our fire department, we collaborate with Dayton Fire Department and Air Show and other special events, NATO particularly, a lot of events. So also we have a new leader, Joe Sigmund. He just came on board about 30 days ago. He came from the military. He used the Skill Bridge program to get into this business. So transitioned from the military to civilian. So we're happy to have him. He's on my left shoulder there. So, our future goals: continue monitoring progress to ensure compliance with FAA and TSA regulations, maintain high standards of regulatory ethics.
Okay, the next program area is fire safety program. Safety behavior management grow. There are 2 more FTEs in this 2020. This is movement of 2 FTEs in our one thing of note, one of the FTEs for the growth program is now under number 1 with 7 months. Personnel costs are up 10.1%. And the annual wage inflation and contracts and materials increased 4.7%. And we're all looking at management contracts, materials, gas, and electric.
All right, good morning, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager and staff. Brad French, Assistant Chief of the Dayton Fire Department. Honored to be here on behalf of Fire Chief Mike Rice, that's out of town at the moment, to present the fire department budget for 2026. Our strategic objective in this area is to provide effective and efficient strategic programs through recruitment, training, and injury prevention activities to enhance workplace culture, safeguard the community, and ensure training, competency, compliance, and employee wellness. We have a couple of measures of progress that we specifically call out in this area. The first of which is percentage of ethnic diversity and gender inclusion in the DFD ranks annually. We take a lot of intentional effort within the fire department to try to have the Dayton Fire Department reflect the city of Dayton, reflect our community. And we've made a significant amount of progress in that in recent years and really moved the needle on that through a number of programs. You'll notice that that our 2025 annual target for that measure is 20%. And as of Q3 2025, we're exceeding that at 21.6%. We're going to comfortable keeping that at that 20% or better for 2026. I do want to call out one specific difference there, which is in that 20.5% in the Q3 2024 to 21.6% in Q3 2025. And I want to draw your attention to the photo in the bottom right corner of that screen. In May of 2025, it was a tremendous source of pride within the organization that we graduated our most diverse fire class in departmental history. 59% of that firefighter recruit class was either ethnically or gender diverse, and had 7 females. Had our first 2 ever African-American female firefighters. We have a lot of diversity within our EMS ranks, but as far as the firefighter ranks, our first 2 African-American female firefighters, and actually our Homegrown Heroes program, right on the heels of this, produced our 3rd African-American female firefighter. So a lot of exciting stuff, and also a shout out to Mayor Mims and Commissioner Shaw and Commissioner Turner-Sloss that were able to attend graduation that day as well. So definitely a neat thing for us, and we continue to see progress in that area. Our second measure of progress is the number of training hours documented. You can see some pretty big numbers there. We do a lot of training in the fire department. Again, a big source of pride for us. And we're significantly increasing our 2026 annual target from what it was in 2025. We, have typically exceed that, and so we're comfortable continuing to move that up. We do a lot of training, and going through that most recent accreditation process that you saw about in the video opener really got us to refine our data capturing mechanisms and really making sure we're leaving no stone unturned, not only in terms of what training we do, but how we're capturing that training. So we're moving that metric up significantly for 2026. Our future goals in the strategic programs area here, promote positive workplace culture through engaging employees at all ranks in reverse mentoring sessions with senior fire leadership. Under the direction of the city manager, we've really taken a close look at workplace culture. That's something that we're placing a lot of emphasis on at the moment, and we want to make sure that we maintain what we sometimes refer to as operational empathy, making sure that we as a command staff are staying in touch with what's going on, on the streets every day. And by going through that reverse mentoring process, Chief Rice has made it very clear that he wants to bring members of all ranks into his office and have those conversations about, what's really going on out there and making sure we're keeping that connection very strong. Continue recruitment of a diverse workforce through supporting the Fire and EMS CTE program. Much like Dayton Police Department, we have a program there at Ponitz High School. The Fire Cadet program, and again, as I'd mentioned, that Homegrown Heroes initiative, which has certainly produced results over the past several years. Ensure professional development and competency through proactive training programs and mentoring at all levels of the department, and address paramedic staffing challenges through continued certification training that we send our members to, as well as lateral firefighter paramedic hiring when needed. Continuing on strategic programs, our strategic objective here remains the same, carries over from the previous slide. Some of the measures of progress that we look at here, we're kind of focusing in on this slide on some of our community risk reduction programs, and a couple of them that we're very, very proud of. The first is the number of residents enrolled through the community paramedicine program. You've heard community paramedicine referenced several times. It really a fantastic program to engage some of our residents that need a little extra help. That need a little extra help beyond just a ride to the hospital, where some of our EMS units may interact with people for several minutes. These are interacting with folks for several weeks or even months at a time, and so a really neat program that we have a very dedicated team work through. Our 2025 annual target was 50. We are on pace to meet that. As you can see there, we're currently at 41 for our Q3 2025 results. You see a little bit of a dip from Q3 24 to Q3 25. Part of that is that in 2025, we've taken on a new partnership with the Gadaha Regional Pathways Hub, which is a program that is allows our members to be certified, our two community paramedicine members to be certified as community health workers. And by being involved in that Pathways Hub, that's become a good conduit for additional referrals into the program, and also provides a limited amount of cost recovery for some of the services to help sustain that program in the long term. So we're going to keep that 2026 target at 50, much like it was for 2025. We feel like that's a fairly good spot for that program at the moment. A number of residents engaged by the community paramedicine team. So certainly they do a lot more outreach than just those that are actually enrolled in the program. They do a lot of outreach into our local shelters and have a lot of interaction with the unhoused community in the city of Dayton. Doing vital sign clinics and things like that. They also do CPR classes. They do what are called stepping on classes, which are fall prevention classes. We've done those at the Dakota Center and various other areas, and trying to do a lot of that outreach beyond just those that are enrolled in the program, but also making sure we have a lot more touch points to additional residents throughout the city. And oftentimes those lead to then referrals in the program. And then finally, there are the number of residents engaged through the GROW program. GROW is an acronym for Get Recovery Options Working. Again, a big source of pride program within the fire department, as well as the Dayton Police Department, and that partnership that we have with them that's been so successful. Our 2025 target was 2,000, and we're doing fairly well with that. We had a little bit of a dip from Q3 24 to Q3 25, just related to some staffing changes, but we're going to keep that metric at over 2,000. Much like community paramedicine, a lot of interaction with the unhoused community there. At least a day a week, they get out and do direct outreach into some encampments and things like that, trying to make sure that we're meeting some of those needs for folks that are in a tough spot. So a lot of good things coming out of the GROW program, in addition to their core mission, which is overdose outreach and follow up with family members, follow up with folks that have experienced overdose emergencies and things like that. Future goals within this section: enroll at least 50 residents in the community paramedicine program to provide that personal health and wellness support in the comfort of one's own home, and increase that community engagement, as well as engage residents in that GROW program, Get Recovery Options Working, to work towards reducing overdose deaths by supporting residents with rehab and recovery opportunities. We have a goal of engaging at least 2,000 residents in 2026 through various outreach activities.
In this program area for providing response and emergency services, fire support services, and resource management. And and largely need to annually increase the commitment to more contract the materials, 31.3%, which is a real increase in fire fleet charges, computer software and supply and gas and legal fuel charges, which were somewhat offset by increases in electric supplies and materials and plumber's charges in particular. And then of course the FTEs, those remain the same at 21 between 25 and 26.
All right, thank you. Our strategic objective in the support services and resource management area provide effective and efficient community risk reduction through community outreach, public education, prevention, and enforcement activities. So our specific measures of progress that we call out here within support services are the number of fire inspections conducted each year. Certainly we have a desire, rhetorically speaking, to put ourselves out of a job within the fire department, right? Which is to try to prevent fires before they occur. Certainly they always will. And we obviously place a tremendous amount of emphasis on our ability to respond, but we also want to prevent those fires from ever happening. And so we have an aggressive posture towards fire safety and getting into our buildings and making sure that they're as fire safe as they can be. Our 2025 annual target was 2,200. We are on pace to meet that, as you can see, based on those 2025 Q3 results. And we've engaged some additional efficiencies there, some of our electronic reporting and things like that, and just refining some processes. So we're comfortable with a slight increase there, up to 2,300 as kind of the floor for our 2026 annual target for fire inspections. And our next measure of progress there is related to the Senior Safe program. Relatively new program, certainly still in its infancy in a way, but something that we've been very excited about within the fire department. Much like community paramedicine and GROW, We're always looking for ways to increase that safety net that the fire department can provide in the community. And the Senior Safe program is certainly another option for that, to try to engage those residents that are potentially isolated, maybe live alone, don't have some of those resources that they might need for someone to check on them on a regular basis. And so we're able to get out and into those homes, do a home safety check, make sure that things are where they need to be and that we're connecting them to resources. Sometimes that may roll into community paramedicine and some of the other resources that we have available. But as you can see there, those are all listed as new measures for percentage of engagement growth in the Senior Safe program. Again, it's still very early in that, but we've set a 2026 annual target of 10% quarterly engagement growth. Our future goals within support services: conduct preventative fire inspections to provide education and outreach with a goal of reducing fire hazards. DFD plans to conduct at least 2,300 fire inspections in 2026. And continue resident engagement in the Dayton Senior Safe program through direct outreach, referrals, and marketing to grow enrollment by 10% each quarter. This program is in the early stages and has significant potential to provide an added layer of safety for isolated and or under-resourced residents in the community through home safety visits and regular check-ins. And we've been getting out into our recreation centers and things like that to try to make sure, senior resource fairs and things along those lines, to make sure we continue to get the word out on this program.
Okay. One program area. By 7, from 7. We'll see you the smaller compared to 2025. The total are 4.8%, which is due to the annual review, but it's somewhat mitigated by a small. Contracts and materials are flat with no change from 2020 in 2026. The ARPA Wellness Grant, which previously supported this program, as you remember, it's expired at the end of 2024. So there was a large change in contracts and materials in 2025, but that has now stabilized. Now we make that $10,000.
Thanks, Andrea. Our strategic objective in emergency services is to provide effective and efficient emergency response to save lives and protect property. So our measures of progress there, the first is average percent response time within 320 seconds with the first arriving engine to fire calls. Response time is absolutely critical. Much like you heard Chief Afzal speak about in the police department and the fire department, we place a premium on response time and making sure we're constantly keeping an eye on what those data metrics are and trying to improve that. Our 2025 annual target for that particular metric was 75%, and as of Q3, we're at 83.6%. So we're pleased to be there. That 320 seconds, if you're wondering what that's based on, is a national best practice, NFPA standard 1710. That's essentially 240 seconds or 4 minutes of travel time, and then 80 seconds or 1 minute and 20 seconds of turnout time. So from the time they get the alarm, get their fire gear on, get on the apparatus, and get on the road, 80 seconds, and then an additional 4 minutes of travel time. And our 2026 annual target there is going to remain at 75%. Our second measure of progress is average percent response time within 560 seconds to structure fires with 17 personnel on the scene. 70% was our 2025 annual target. And again, as you can see, 2025 Q3, we're at 77.3. So again, we're in the green there as far as that goes. That 560 second metric there is related to 480 seconds or 8 minutes of total travel time, and then plus that 80 seconds or 1 minute and 20 seconds that it takes to get out the door. And that's to get 17 personnel on the scene. And that 17 personnel count, again, is based on that national standard. So we're performing well in that essentially what is a full first alarm assignment of multiple engines and ladders on the scene of a structured fire. And the last measure of progress there is the average percent response within 540 seconds to medium and high priority EMS calls. 90% is our 2025 annual target there, and we're trending a little bit below that at 87.1%, but we're comfortable to keep that at 90% for our 2026 annual target. And you might wonder why the difference between 560 seconds and 540 seconds there, and pardon me, we're getting a little down into the weeds, but essentially for an EMS call, when it's not required to put all of that turnout gear on, we can get out the door faster. So that shaves that 20 seconds off, and so that leads to that 540 second metric for our EMS calls. Our future goals are continue to ensure effective resource deployment for all fire calls. We get a lot of data tracking, daily, weekly, monthly reports, and so we're keeping a very close eye on where in the city calls are. What units are responding to the most calls, what those turnout times are, and things like that. Utilizing technology to dispatch the closest fire apparatus to improve response time. We work a lot with different programs in the ArcGIS suite and with some of our colleagues over in water and their expertise in the GIS realm. And we really take a close look to make sure that we have our engines and our ladders in the appropriate spots to try to maximize those measures of progress that I mentioned above. And then finally, benchmarking our ALS or advanced life support service delivery and ensure effective services through quality assurance and data analytics. Again, a lot of data tracking goes into that, but also patient outcomes. We get data back from the hospitals and things like that to see how certain situations turned out, so we can inject that into our quality assurance and quality improvement processes. Thank you.
I'm glad I can talk about it in this presentation, but this is the third. And just a note, the sort of like equal arrow that you see in blue of all of those items, the difference between 23 and 24 is below the 2.7%, which is the measure of statistical significance. So that anything that and below it just kind of represents the deterioration or variations that occur with populations. Anything that is, green or red, of course, would fall above that. And the only two in this case that have that are the subdivision waste services, which increased by 6%, and then the importance of environmental sustainability issues, which decreased by just 2.9%, so just above that.
Questions?
Questions? Klaus?
Thank you all for your presentation this afternoon. Just a couple of questions. Would like to thank Mr. Donald and the entire team for Fernwood, and the neighbors, they were too thrilled. So, and they send their regards and appreciation. So thank you. A couple of questions. So slide 7. The permits, I'm happy to see that number. That is very impressive, the 7,046. So are we still tracking for the electronic request approval? Are we moving in that direction? I know it was stated by the end of the year. Are you still on track for that, or?
Yeah, we, for the electronic document review, we had an RFP out that closed. The team has selected a vendor, so we'll be moving forward. And I think the key point on that too is that we are actually able to utilize some remaining CARES funds to pay for that, so we didn't have to use any funds. We had it actually met the criteria of the CARES funds in terms of being able to operate remotely if needed. So win-win in terms of how we're paying for it, and we have a vendor.
Thank you. Very good. And 30 housing inspectors that are currently out in here, is that correct? FTEs?
Total, not all on housing. I think in the field it's like 15,
Okay.
16. But there's admin, and then the nuisance team is a separate.
Okay. Great. My next question is slide 10. So remind me again, does that number also include the fire pals? On slide, we mentioned with 2013, 25, 23 renewals, the number of emergency capabilities, that.
Well, those become files. So those are demolitions that were called in from fire and or our chief building official.
And then currently, right now, we do have a contract. Is that right?
I'll get back to you on we have some under, but then the newer ones, likely we do not, just because they came in after the contracts were issued.
Okay, thank you. I look forward to that. And then earlier in the presentation, when we first started this section, it was noted that 1.7 million, it was a grant for rehab. Remind me again, 1.7 million for rehab. It was in the presentation, in the video.
Oh, in the video.
In the video, in the highlighted section.
Well, that was sustainability, I believe.
Yeah, I think sustainability is great.
You're right.
For the home repair.
Yes, okay. And then
The credit. Meg's not here to. So,
Looking to the work that they're doing, I mean, they're a small size, but might be as many of the divisions and departments, so. It's slide 11. 650,000, they're having to speak this in the presentation, they want to consistently, so we gave all of the voters, for the renewal, and tax, and tax renewal. So the 650,000, from my understanding, that was supposed to be applied or used as leverage for the Welcome Home Initiative with the land bank. We noted that it will be used for homeowner assistance with repairs, but again, from my understanding, in days in conversation, for the next 4 years, the 650,000 will be used as leverage. Is that not?
yeah, we're leveraging it with, in the areas where they're building and rehabbing, we're going to use this to repair. So that was the missing piece in the areas of the Welcome Home and Pathways, was that there were partners building and rehabbing homes that were unoccupied. Ours was going to come in and do the repair of adjacent properties in that existing area of homeowners. So that's leveraging is, we didn't have to leverage that to the land bank. It was that we were going to bring it in to support the efforts that they were doing, that Pathways Homes was doing.
Adjacent homes. Okay. All right. And just one last final comment. Again, thank you all for the great work you are doing. I really appreciate it. And I know that the residents, they appreciate it as well. Note to Mr. Ritchie, what are we doing for the illegal dumping? I know you mentioned that there are efforts that in particular with our alleys. Are we in conversation with my colleagues about how we can aggressively address the concerns in our alleys? And I know you highlighted that in your presentation, your section, or your additional efforts being made.
So there's multiple ongoing things along with the illegal dumping task force. We also have the illegal dumping cameras that we put in different areas that we've noticed we have a problem with. We'll also be able to utilize the in-cab navigation system. So as the crews are in the alley, providing the weekly service for trash or the biweekly service for recycling, they will actually have a tablet and it has an option to take and report things that's going on.
Yeah.
So whenever it comes to illegal dumping or an abandoned car or things like that, we're not going to have them be overloaded with options from the beginning. We're kind of like feeding them pieces, if you will. So we're very close to doing a full implementation of it. We started off with doing pre-trip and post-trip inspections. Then we started using them for weight tickets and fueling tickets. Then we started using them on Fridays for bulk. So we're getting them accustomed to having the tablet, accustomed to using it. They started using it on the trash routes 3 or 4 weeks ago. So we're at the point now of taking the data that was collected while they was out there and we're kind of tweaking that information. For example, you may have narrow streets that you drive an automated truck down because if it's in too close proximity to containers on both sides of the street, it can give a false read that because the crew stopped at that location, if it was close enough that it would read that it collected it. So we're making those final adjustments. And then the last portion will be to roll it out to recycling. And the recycling trucks also have the outward facing cameras. So we got a couple additional things, the illegal dump cameras, and then also the in-cab navigation that will assist us. And then just constant communication with community engagement and reaching out to the neighborhoods and then also identifying areas to do the clean sweeps and cleanups.
Great. I would just bring to your attention, I'm sure you're fully aware, but the alleys in Five Oaks and Southern Dayton View, they are atrocious. And I think we, with the work that we've done with our planning neighborhood development department, all of the investments, especially around the home flats, we know that that's coming online in Five Oaks. We just, if we can, whatever we can do, because I know the cameras are very limited with the sheriff's office. Whatever it is that we can do to make sure that we are addressing those concerns as priorities.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Commissioner Fairchild.
Yeah, just first, congratulations to the police, fire, public works, P&D on reducing those fire piles. That's remarkable. Thank you. Really appreciate that work. And then I had a question. I was looking at the slide on page 6, slide 6. The budget of 150 for 2025 for the CSA, the active 133. So I'm curious how we take a reduction in expenses to, and then we're budgeting, 80% above the actual. So I was curious of an explanation on that.
I can thought that went through. You're going to see this trend too when we get to some of the, when we get to some of the other CSAs. So the 2025 is just a projection based off of where we're going to end this year. Some of that includes some of that wage growth that it's going to come under what we budget. 26 budget assumes all butts and seats. We budget for full positions. So that's, and I'm assuming the maximum spend on positions on personnel.
Okay.
And then so we also don't have in there some of those year-end expenses, like the transfers at year-end. I don't know if you recall, like the end of last year in 24, we do some year-end transfers. We haven't had any of those at the end of this year, so you're not seeing those in the 25 projection.
Okay.
That's some of that difference.
Thank you.
Sean.
I am good. Thank you for the update and the data.
Joseph.
Two things. Thank you, Mayor. First is, I know that during last year, there was a trouble with hearing federal funding for the K-9 program. Has it been worked out? Did we find a solution? Did we have to cut back?
Absolutely not.
Still going?
Yeah, still, well, we're still on the CR, so they didn't never pass the 2025 budget, so nothing is through. There was talk about it, since they didn't pass a budget. Nothing got done, so it's still in limbo. And also unfunded mandate of also the airport worker screening program. So they're making us now, that's why, again, another cost that we have to put in our budget for Moonlight to do screening of airport workers. So, and then we got to buy the equipment. We got to buy the bomb detection equipment, to screen employees. A lot of unfunded mandates.
Thank you for the update.
But we did drop down. We had 3 K-9 teams. We went down to 2.
So that's why I asked. I was like, yeah, that's what I did. Well, thank you. And then question for you, Brad, that is, you had a really nice improvement in response time in the first 2 measures there, 10 to 15%. What do you attribute that? Has our capital spending helped with turnout time? What's going on?
So I think probably a lot of factors. I think certainly the continued staffing of Engine 10 there on South Broadway Street is certainly a factor in that, and that's been something that's been a positive thing. I also think we're putting a lot of additional measures in place to try to improve our turnout time to get out the door. For example, this is getting a little bit down into the minutia, but we've even put up countdown clocks to make sure that kind of serve as an unofficial reminder of folks. Hey, look, this is what the standard is. You need to get out the door. And then also tracking that a little bit more closely and at the supervisory level, making sure that we're, getting out the door, because that's one we can control. We can't always control how far away the emergency is. If you're coming from this fire station, you got to go over here. That just is what it is. We're not going to drive faster to get there and then cause undue risk to the public. And so getting out the door quicker helps a lot, and being in the appropriate spots helps out a lot. So again, that goes back and speaks to some of that investment that's been made by the commission and the city manager's office in staffing.
Great. I'll have Mayor. Thank you.
Good. I think I'm standing between lunch. I'm trying to be as quick as I can. But first, since I'm in the water department, I just want to hear more about those 3 recognitions that you received in terms of awards in the water department. Some of the great accomplishments you have in this place.
One of the awards we received was for our career conference that we've been doing with Dayton Public Schools, which is a way to get the younger folks exposed to what's going on in the water department and to start to fill those different positions. So that was the first one, was acknowledging that public outreach that we were. For our other award that we won for the water reclamation facility, it's acknowledging the operations and showing that how we're complying within our NS and within our permits that we have for that water, for the wastewater facility as we go to release the water into the waterways. It shows that we're actually operating efficiently. We're meeting all of our standards. So that was what our other award was for. And I can't remember the third one. Groundwater? Okay, so the other one is specifically for our source water protection program, which we've been talking about for years, how it's nationally recognized. So this was looking at how we administer that program, looking at our outreach, our different parts of our buy downs, how we're working with the community. So those were just acknowledging what we currently do on an everyday basis. The rest of the country was actually seeing it in these different organizations. We're noticing that work that we do all the time.
Thank you. We'll give you the opportunity to put your own horn there for a minute. I know Brad Fire Department, talk a little bit more about the Senior Safe Program and how that works for those who listen and have that information.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, Mayor. So the Senior Safe Program essentially is another safety net that we're trying to put in place with the community to try to make sure that folks that are potentially living by themselves or don't have some of those connections to the outside world, some of our most vulnerable residents across the city have the ability to have somebody check in on them. And the fire department is in a position to be able to help with that. We've put in place through that program essentially a system in which they can receive a text message or a phone call or an email each day, just checking in on them, making sure they're okay. And then they reply to that. And if there's no reply, well, then they get an additional phone call, or we actually can go to the house to check in and literally make sure that they're okay for the folks that are registered in that program. Also, part of that is home safety inspections. So as we get people coming on board with that, one of the first things we'll do is go in, make sure that, there are smoke and carbon monoxide detectors in the home, and that there are no, fall hazards, throw rugs, things like that, that there are grab bars in places in the bathroom, and making sure that it's a safe environment for them. And going back to the phone calls and text message piece just a second ago, we can also do additional information. If we have, if they would like a medication reminder, did you remember to take your medications this afternoon or something like that? We can set that all up in there for them as well. We can send out city-based information about events or potentially upcoming weather issues if there's a big cold or heat issue coming through. So it puts in place a lot of measures for us to be able to communicate directly with those that we get enrolled in the program that are some of the most vulnerable. So we really want to try to continue to grow that program. And so DaytonOhio.gov/seniorsafe for anybody that's listening is the place to go for additional information. And we're proud to have that within the fire department. We want to continue to grow.
Thanks a lot. And then for aviation, just in terms of gut feeling, what do you feel in terms of job opportunities or whatever the case may be in relationship to Sierra Nevada, Joby, and the connection that we have there with Sinclair and the big classroom that we have out there?
Oh, yeah. Well, job opportunities are growing. Right now, Sierra Nevada is wrapping up hangar number 3. That should be operational here by the end of the month. Then in March or April, hangar number 4 will be operational. So those 2 hangars are coming online really quickly. So, and then there's more opportunities that are coming a little bit later on once we develop the that's the end of the old Emory ramp. There's a lot more opportunities coming. Joby is, I believe they're operational now as far as the manufacturing of the component in the old post office facility. That's going very well. I'm already planning to take a tour real soon because I want to get in there and see exactly, what they're actually making, the components they're actually making. So it's really cool. How's it? Yeah, we'll do. Also, Sinclair is doing well. Also, there's 2 classes per day, so that's going very well. To create that pipeline for employees to get jobs for these companies.
Thanks all of you. Appreciate it. Great information. Good.
Mayor and commissioners, we are over an hour behind in time. So we're going to do an adjustment to schedule. So we are going to give a 30-minute break for lunch and convene here at 2:10. Because our next 2 CSAs, Community Economic Development as well as infrastructure, are lengthy ones. And we want to make sure that we get through this before commission meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.